normally in
Okay.
there, and
Live.
Tracy
Okay.
can't sit
Yeah.
tall enough
We need
there.
a longer torso for this.
Yeah,
Okay,
some days.
We're live.
So I'm going to call the November 20th, 2023 meeting of the Fairport Industrial Development Agency to order. And I will ask if there is any public comment. Anyone who would like to speak with the board? Hearing no one, I'll close public comment and move on to the approval of the October 16th IDA meeting minutes. Motion to approve.
Approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or discussion regarding those minutes or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to financial reports, starting with resolution 2023-11, authorizing the payment of the IDA bills.
I reviewed the bills and I make a motion to pay them.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Second by Leslie. Any questions on any of those bills? Or anything you want to call out, Martha or Donna? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to the financial reports and cash balances. Total statements. Anybody?
I am working we've had some CDs mature, some investments mature, so I'm working with both Tompkins and C&B and finding the right investment, for our anticipated spring outlay of cash. And the investment report, you have two reports. One's a full year report through 9/30, and then one is October.
Backing up to the cash and investment report. On that, you'll notice that the parking lots set aside monies is down based on what we are anticipating getting for support and for lower bid prices. So that is down to $275,000 now. Okay, something higher than that before. Anything anybody else has on any of the financials? Okay. Moving on to committee charters and memberships. We got a couple of things there that we wanted to clean up. We have governance committee charter amendments. Let's start with that. Martha, you can let us know.
Sure. Well, as we were talking about our charters last month or so, we did some work on the governance committee, and this is just to add the words village of into our governance committee charter. As long as we were looking at these things, we took the opportunity to just correct a few things. So it's just adding village of on the existing governance committee charter. And then we have a finance charter to consider adopting.
This is something we've talked about for the last few months. It would be a good idea to add it to the finance committee. So we will need to make that committee, appoint that committee. I will make the appointment with the approval of the board. And so, but first we'll start with adoption of the charter, correct, Ed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's amend the governance first.
Oh, we did. Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
that little language.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve that amendment to the governance committee charter?
I'll move. I'll second.
Any discussion regarding that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so now, Finance Committee Charter for adoption. We've all had a chance to take a look at that.
The board previously had asked Ed and I to work on some language to outline what we were looking for in board members with regard to skills, knowledge, and so forth. And we also added in the independent language to that as well.
For members.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this mirrors the currently in place
Right,
for
that was our,
the finance committee from the LDC.
that was our base document, yeah.
That's okay. So is there a motion to adopt that finance committee charter?
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
And is there any discussion or any questions or thoughts about going forward with this? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now I get to give you the members of that committee. And as we talked about, we wanted to mix up the committee a little bit and do what we had done in the past with the LDC, and that's to expand the independence, still be independent.
Correct.
It fits into the membership category.
Mm-hmm.
So from the current finance committee for the LDC, it is Donna as chair. I would like Donna to continue to chair that if she's willing. And the other member is Leslie, I believe, and myself. This is a great time for me to be able to back away from that committee and recommend appointment of Donna, Leslie, and Ken Rohr as the independent member, bringing his finance background to our committee. This committee meets, required to be twice a year, and it may happen 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a motion to accept those memberships to the finance committee for that?
I'll move to recommend that. I really think Ken's experience was really valuable to us in those committees, and especially in the audit committee. So I think I would really appreciate having him on that committee.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions regarding those appointments?
Just continued support for Ken's involvement. He's got a ton of institutional knowledge and knowledge around finance in this space, so I love it. I think it's smart.
Leslie, you just want to say thank you for reappointment.
Oh, I'm grateful for that, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That takes care of the committees, nothing else on that, correct?
Correct. There's just one other.
And another old business item is the deposit policy amendment, which is really minor.
Correct. This was recommended by Megan Burke, our Tompkins representative. So you'll see, I highlighted it on page 21, but it should appear again on page 23. We're just changing Tompkins County Trust Company to Tompkins Community Bank.
Is there a motion for that amendment?
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any other old business that's not on the agenda?
I did not have any. I will mention, we talked earlier about an easement from for RG&E across our North Main parking lot. We received the proposed easement and language and so forth, and I've sent that over to council and to the engineers to comment on it, whether or not what we need to do with that. I don't have their schedule, but they know that we're not doing anything till spring. If we do something, it won't be until spring. So that's just an FYI.
And the update, I guess probably a good time to talk about the update. Further discussions that we've had regarding North Main Street, improvements to the parking lot. We have, Martha and I met with the landlords of the community and let them know that this work was not going to be happening now. And we're going to revisit the project in the spring. We're disappointed. We understood that we're up against asked for participation from them. They are supposedly putting together, looking at the project to offer project management services to us, and value engineering type of look at the plans, which we'll look at. We'll take a look at that when they provide something to us.
Like a way to get the price down for us?
Yeah,
Okay.
they thought that there were opportunities there to get the price lower. Aside from the fact that it could be a seasonal completion date factor, they're looking at other things. Like I said, you're welcome to do that.
I did receive a email from Connor Kilmer.
Oh, you do?
Yes, they're asking for the bid docs. So, putting together the two of ours.
Okay.
No offer of financial support,
Not direct.
not direct.
Not yet. Discussions will continue.
I think I did send you all a screenshot of, there's parking, of course, it's a discussion item throughout the village, and someone quoted our website. So I'm aware, because we do have a page with the entire timeline of it. And so I was excited to see someone's actually looking at our website and then referencing it and referring people to it. So we're making strides in social media, so.
Serving its purpose, right?
Mhm.
At least in part.
Yeah.
Other new okay, moving on to new business now. We did receive the CFA grant award for Thomas Creek Wetlands.
Yes.
We all got the notice of that.
Yes.
$1,000 and
Great job.
for a $100,000 project.
Yes. I was happy. You all had received prior notice, but I just wanted to get it into the official record. I received a call from Brian Stratton congratulating us on the award. And this is for the Thomas Creek Wetlands entrance project. We still get people completing our survey, which is kind of interesting. And then in the spring, we'll go out again and ask people. We'll give them the results of the Pat Rapp, our social media contact, is creating a page much like the North Main parking lot for the Thomas Creek Wetlands. So in the spring, we'll re-engage with people that have already completed the survey and also the neighbors to the wetlands and so forth. And we'll get that going early as well. It's a small project. It's based on the input that we received. I think there was more than 80 people that completed the survey. It's a strong desire to maintain its natural state. Don't bring in elements of public art or whatever, certainly no lighting, they'll keep it natural.
No paving.
Pardon?
No paving.
No paving, when it's not paving. I'm very excited because the project has that new parking indicator structure that is part of the gravel. It's hard, I'm not, but I'm excited to try it there because it's a small area rather than trying to do something like that in a large parking lot. It's going to be a nice little test case. So going to reconnect with Tom Molansky of GPI early in the new year and get moving on that one. So,
And that's where we recommended the clearing of all the brush, cutting back so that there was visibility on the
Yes.
basket.
That's you can, and I recommend you take a walk over there now, and you'll see, with all the leaves and gone and so forth, you can see the embankment that's there, and so removing the the undergrowth from there would and making it almost a feature will improve sight lines and improve the views. We want to reassure the neighbors on the other side that we're not clear cutting that area. There will still be a screen for them. So, yep, it's good stuff.
All right, and Donna attended the State Economic Development Council conference, and she wants to tell us all about it.
Yeah, sure. It was really great as a first event. First in-person event for me to attend. I think the first kind of little shocking impression that I had was that we're a small fish swimming in in a pond of a lot of other big fishes and, you know, county IDAs. So it was really good listening to best practices and sharing best practices. I just thought I would highlight a few things from mostly from the training part. I found it really interesting because I remember getting this training now, like 6 years ago or so. And this was like really a refresher and really brought it home. And also like really able to say like, oh yeah, we do that. So and you feel good about how we do things here. So Jeff Perlman from the ABO office did the training, the mandatory board training, and there was only a handful of us who were board members. There was about 80 people, and most of them were staff. So there weren't a lot of board members. But he went over, reminded us all of the fiduciary duty of the board to know and understand the mission, so we can properly execute our fiduciary duty. And I'll dig a little bit more into that a little bit later. Deliberation, so that we deliberate openly as a board to make an informed and independent decision. Confidentiality, for the guidelines of what can be confidential, we keep it confidential. Jeff made a statement about like, you know, sometimes I see meeting minutes and it appears that executive sessions are being called for everything. And, you know, he's like, make sure that's not what you're doing as a board. And certainly I think I'm fairly confident that when we call for an executive session, we state the reason. That's clear. Thank you. Conflict of interest. He was hitting home the need to disclose any conflicts or appearances. He's like, most times a board knows how to handle that, but the importance is of disclosure at least, so their questions don't come up later.
Which we all are turning our conflict statements in.
Yes. And I like this little statement from this presentation. Board members may disagree, but must arrive at consensus. And we can vote no if you don't have enough information, or you need more time to arrive at a decision. So you can table items to gather more information, which I feel like we practice pretty well. So then you covered the importance of mission statements, which I thought was really interesting because it provoked me to kind of go back into our own website and look at the IDA's mission statement. So a mission statement defines how a public authority will operate. A good mission statement has a clear statement of purpose, includes comprehensive goals, it's easy to understand, and is consistent with the articles of incorporation. He recommends the governance committee asking questions like, what are the values of the authority, who are the authority stakeholders, and how will the public authority meet its mission. He recommended that the governance committee reviews the mission statement every year. At first reflection on this presentation, I was like, well, I think we went through a really, really great, thorough process. And, that all the community feedback that we got and the stakeholder interviews that were done when we were doing, before we did the comprehensive plan, or the economic development plan. And we did that before we did the website.
Correct.
Right? So we have all those mission statements there that were recently updated. But there was a few things that he noted, he just said kind of flippantly, like, you should, IDEA, of course, is going to have in the mission statement the idea of creating jobs. And I looked at our mission statement and I didn't see it clearly. I think like we all know that that's like, whenever we review proposals, that's like top of mind, but it's something that I might suggest to the governance committee, just take a second look at, see if there's something you want to look at. The two general themes of the meeting were housing and green energy. And on the housing front, I didn't realize it. The big IDAs that were in the room, there's a lot of IDAs that are doing projects now in the housing realm. And Jeff Perlman was very clear that he didn't agree with this fit for the purpose of IDAs. He said that, first of all, if you are doing housing projects, it should be part of your mission statement. You mentioned getting calls from legislators and saying like, can my IDA do this? And he goes in and he looks at the mission statement and says, it's not on the mission statement. No, they can't do housing. It's not there. And then the second note he made is like, if you do housing, if it's in your mission statement, and if you do housing, it really has to be a strong case for attachment to workforce issues. So you're building house, maybe you're doing a housing project to build an incentive for a certain development project, and real industrial development project. That's
The nanotech business comes opening up.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that this pertains to.
No, we're lucky that we do have an urban renewal agency that does have the ability to address.
Just thought I would mention that. They had a session on best practices for project evaluation. Again, I thought like hearing everything that I heard, I was like, oh yeah, we do this. They went over that but for analysis and how that's important. So like to be able to say, like when we review a project application, this project would not happen but for our support, and being able to make that happen. So there was talk about some retail exceptions. I made note of that retail exceptions can been given for tourism destinations, in the cases where a retail that provides services that are not otherwise available in a project area, and projects in highly distressed areas. Based on how that was presented, it didn't seem like any retail project would probably fit those exceptions in our area. But yeah, that was it.
Would you recommend that other board members take
I would
advantage of
highly
these conferences and training?
Yes, I would highly recommend it. I think it just, like I said, just being around others and from other parts of the state just really gave this, to me, how important the context of being able to look at the economy in your own context is to the decisions that people are making. I mean, there's a board member there from an NYSEDC board member from Dutchess County, and she was saying like we can't even figure out housing because we don't have any available space for anything, right? So we're only doing projects in underutilized building space. So
Can I ask you a question about that experience?
sorry.
Can I ask you a question about being there? So that the but-for threshold.
Yeah.
Right, as far as the project doesn't move forward, but for intervention or support by the idea. Were there examples given, like, I guess, not being part of that conversation? I'm curious because oftentimes we act knowing that it's going to be more challenging without support, right?
Yeah.
But we often, we don't play that game of chicken
Yeah.
often, right? We generally come to a consensus where we act.
Yeah.
But we have a good idea in regards to the challenges associated with the project or how we would be streamlining that project by acting.
Yeah.
Was there, I guess, what was that conversation like? And did you hear any experiences in that room of situations where an idea didn't act and the project still moved forward, or any other details from your own?
No, but some details that I made note of was they were talking about the test of reasonableness. So does the developer, trying to determine if the developer really needs the abatement or they're just asking for it.
Sure.
And then they talked about really looking at the details in the TOR in terms of the pro forma costs, the assumptions that they're making, like can you benchmark their assumptions? Sorry, can you benchmark their assumptions against other practices that you know in whatever business field they're in? So looking at those two, the test of reasonableness and the pro forma, I thought, and the comparing of the benchmarks, I thought our discussion that we had a few months ago on the one that we recently gave a green light on, to me, it was like, that was like a really healthy discussion on like what's normal in the market. do we need to do this? What's reasonable if we do it? And does the market, what does the market say?
Yeah, it's good to get.
Thanks for
But they
doing
weren't
that.
really, the only examples were in housing, like they had 3 people who were doing housing projects, could get up and talk about this. But because it's not really relevant.
Is that
And
the
it's-
standard? I'm sorry. Are we supposed to only be giving if we believe they truly cannot continue the project without us? Because that is a little bit of a different sort of mindset, I guess, than where mine has been in it.
To incentivize it versus
Like, do we believe that they can't continue this project without what we're able to provide them? So is that the but for it, is that standard?
I think it's like, but for, in determining like the package that you're giving is within line. Like you're not gonna overgive if like, you know that they can put up money for part of that.
Yeah, and I
And it
don't
also can include not only the project not moving forward, but the project would be delayed or the project would be scaled back. Those are
Okay.
also
think,
factors.
that's where I was
All
going
right,
with
yeah.
that, because
That makes
we
more
also
sense.
look at our when we review these things at the enhancement. We can do this project, but it's gonna be bare bones.
It won't look like.
And it's, so we look at the enhancement that our support will bring to a project as well.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Mhm. And I think.
Yeah, it's not an either or.
Okay.
I mean, and as I've said, I spent 15 years at the county, and out here, you guys, this board is much tougher on applicants, much tougher. So, and I'm proud of that.
Thanks.
Thanks,
That
Bob.
was-
That's a great thing.
Yeah,
Thank you
really
for doing that.
encourage participation.
So we're gonna send somebody every year.
Well, the next one is usually in January down in Albany, and that's usually a really good agenda. Ed and I usually attend that. So I'll circulate that when it becomes available. So, and I think Jennifer Townsend just also completed her board training.
Did, trained up?
Good, good, good.
That reminded me, I think it was Brian, who's head of the board, was saying that, or head of the NYSEDC, was saying that they put out a report recently that summarizes that how much investment IDA mobilizes at large based on like what our, that question that I always ask, like what does our investment leverage
Yes.
as a bigger pot? And he said it was really worth reading. I pulled it up and I bookmarked it, but I just remembered that I should
Yes.
send it around because everybody pointed to that as a really good report.
Great.
Because the New York State, the way they have their reporting system set up, it's very dated, very outdated, and very finite to jobs. It does not really account for the capital investment that's been being made and that accompanies those jobs, which is the basis of the tax revenues and so forth. So that's what EDC hired, I believe it might have been Camoin Associates, to gather all that information together and present that in. It's the impact, it's the
Yeah.
annual impact of the report. So it is a good read.
It's good too to know. I recently did a refresh on that same board training, and it sounds like similar focus. It's the focus on the mission, focus on independent considerations of issues and topics. It sounds like you had more fun. You were a person.
Well, it was. I mean, Jeff Perlman is a very engaging speaker, and he on the independence issue. I tried to bring that up, but on the independence issue, I mean, he certainly had some words for a few of the DAs in the room who, in his assessment, are predominantly elected officials, and there is a place for them on boards, but in predominance, it's not.
I will say that Jeff is the ABO, Authority Budget Office, and then we also have the Office of the State Comptroller who looks over us. And Jeff he came from the second floor, I think, didn't he, in Albany? So he's you know when he's in the room. So So, he's a great, but Don, like you said, he's very engaging. He's got a great presentation skills and a lot different from most of the other ABO people. So,
So, following up on that, we all got our notice of conflict statements and our board evaluation. So if you haven't completed them already, please get them into Jenna by the end of the month. Anything else IDA related? Anyone? Anybody have anything else?
Oh, just a note, do we do the deposit policy? Do we have a motion in a second?
yes, Jennifer Townsend and Donna Stefano.
Okay, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're going to go to URA. Are you disconnected and all ready to go?
Oh,